The Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Dan Rubenstein, as we come on the airwaves tonight, the first round is just about over. We will get to that.
Yes.
And much, much more here over the next, 45 minutes, 60 minutes worth of podcasting. Thank you, one and all, for stopping on by. Please hit follow. Please hit subscribe. If you have yet to do so, it supports what we do, and it ensures that you will not miss any of our episodes. We've got much to discuss here. Of course, we had a big one on Friday night with Alabama's comeback.
Yes.
We had the Slugfest in College Station, Miami pulling that one out over Texas A&M. And then we had two matchups later in the day today, Ole Miss, Tulane. And as we are recording now, James Madison against Oregon, both of which are runaway trains. Not entirely unexpected, although I will admit it does bring up some other conversations around the structure of the playoff and the sport and what have you. It is really just a blank canvas onto which you can project all that ails you about college football. We will get to that as well, Dan Rubenstein. Are you able to give me your undivided attention, given that Oregon is still playing?
Yeah, Oregon, JMU is still going. Oregon has, I think it's 4s in, at least on defense, and JMU marched down the field to score its 27th point. Oregon's up 3 touchdowns at the moment. I don't know what's going to happen there. I assume Oregon's going to win going away, and things are going to continue right now. And I guess we can find out at the same time as the show progresses if JMU makes a furious comeback and it gets weird. I don't know. But Oregon seems to have it in hand. Good news, bad news, Ty. The good news is we get to talk about college football. We get to espouse opinions, if I use the word espouse correctly, and talk through these games, talk through these moments and storylines, and, form opinions about how we think things might go moving forward. The bad news is I emptied our bank account to pay 50 cents for 90 seconds of It's Gonna Be Killer. I don't know. Hopefully it goes better for us than it did for Oklahoma, bringing him in before the fourth quarter. Yeah. But I think it's worth it. We'll see.
That killed me. When I saw him walking out there, I was like, that fitty. Okay.
All
right.
Cool.
Do whatever it takes, man. Hey, it was a great setting. It was a great setting.
It was great. Get 50 cents to Norman, Oklahoma for a college football game. I think it's great.
I love it. Well, hey, welcome back, one and all. It is a pleasure again to be with you again. Thank you for your support, for downloading, for listening, the whole 9 yards. Why don't we go in chronological order? You mentioned the Friday night game. This one was taking place in Norman, Oklahoma. It was the number 8 seed Oklahoma playing host to the number 9 seed Alabama. It was a rematch of a game that took place about a month ago. Remember, Oklahoma won that one by a 23-21 final.
Yes.
So, I was among the chorus of people out on X, the Everything app, who posted about the early demise of Alabama when they went down 17-zip.
Oh, that was you? Oh, yeah. I knew I wasn't going to say anything. There's no winning with those maniacs. Yeah.
I was one of them. I did not age well. And as the second half was going down, I am just praying to the Lord above that our friend Freezing Cold Takes does not highlight my early tweet.
Here, can I tell you also why I wasn't trying to dance on Alabama in that moment? Oklahoma has exclusively scored between like 17 and 25 points this season, especially against quality defenses. And they scored 17 of those points pretty quickly. So I was like, look, maybe it's a different kind of night and they're scoring 45, but it's still against the Alabama defense.
It's still against the Alabama defense.
And so I was like, I am not. Look, I'm prepared for Oklahoma to win this game. But at that moment, I was like, okay, I could see Oklahoma winning this game 23-22, and holding on for dear life. But no, I wasn't in your headspace. But I appreciate that we're all different snowflakes here.
I jumped the gun.
Yeah.
Though that account didn't zing me, many others did. In my defense, I did pick Alabama beforehand to win the game.
Right.
You may recall. Only one member of this broadcasting dynamic duo did, and it was me, yours truly.
Yeah.
And secondly, there weren't a whole lot of people out there who were posting the counter argument like, oh yeah, Alabama, They got them right where they want them. I didn't see any of that out there. So the observation wasn't wrong. I think everybody had the same observation, albeit mine might have been a little bit more public
Right.
and a little bit too soon, but I deserved to take the medicine, and I did.
Okay, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about what transpired between the sidelines.
I think a couple things are true at once.
Yeah.
We would agree that Alabama got off to a terrible start, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
We would agree that after that terrible start, the manner in which Alabama came back, went on a 34-7 run the remainder of the game, and just dominated Oklahoma through and through. Yeah. We would agree that they deserve all the flowers for that, yes?
Oh, yeah. It was a terrific regrouping from Alabama and figuring out, look, the difference in this game, in this 10-point spread between these two teams. I mean, look, there was a lot of differences after the 17-0 start, but you had the sort of horrible punt situation that I guess Alabama sort of fell into a blocked punt and got a field goal out of that, I believe, on that short field. And they baited, I think it was, which corner was it? It wasn't Domani Jackson, but corner for Alabama baited John Mateer into a pick six, and there's your 10 points. And it was terrific.
It was a turnabout fair play, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because if we think back to that first matchup, what did we talk about? Oklahoma got 17 points off of Alabama mistakes.
Yes.
And
Xavier Brown, by the way. Yeah.
Xavier Brown. This time around, it was Alabama that was able to take advantage of those mistakes. So they go down 17-0. We can debate whether or not we think Oklahoma is any good. That's a conversation for another day. But Oklahoma was up. And yes. Oklahoma's got a good defense. And in theory, it wouldn't have taken much more to fully put Alabama out of their misery at that point in time.
Right.
So Bama on the road at night, 83,000 screaming fans against a good defense. It could have gone sideways. The fact that they managed to turn things around, to recapture momentum and go on that kind of a run, I thought was a damn good effort from the top on down, from Kalen DeBoer right on through the starting roster. Because like early on, they couldn't pressure John Mateer. And they were talking about it on the broadcast, but then they changed. Mm-hmm. They made some adjustments. They come away with 5 sacks. Early on, they were showing the up-close visual of Ty Simpson's eyes and his feet, and everything seemed out of whack, like he was seeing ghosts. And then he calmed down.
Correct.
And he got better. And so I think we can't start this conversation in earnest without paying homage to the job that Alabama did here.
Well, this is, by the way, this
was a good showing for me.
This is also umbrella before kickoff of like Michigan is convinced that it can make a run at Kalen DeBoer pending what's happening in this game to whatever veracity. But that is, being reported by Pete Thamel before kickoff that this game has implications for the Michigan coaching search potentially if Kalen DeBoer and Alabama aren't able to go on the road and come away with a win, that they feel confident that Alabama's not going to be super keen on then heaping a huge extension, a new deal on Kalen DeBoer losing in the first round, especially after losing in the manner that they did to Georgia in the SEC championship game. So like that is sort of hovering over this game as well going into it. And Alabama looked tight. Ty Simpson looked tight. The protection wasn't there. They couldn't figure out nobody's been able to figure out the Oklahoma pass rush this year because it's been excellent and overwhelming 95% of the time. This is obviously an Oklahoma team led by its defense. But you're right. They calmed down. They hit plays down the field. I think it was Latsier Brooks was a catalyst for this team. We mentioned the pick six and that quick field goal, which like Alabama hadn't done anything really in the first half consistently, but it was 17-all at the half, correct?
17-all at the half. So and that brings me sort of, I think, to the other side of this.
Yes.
Because I don't think we can earnestly talk about Alabama beating Oklahoma without at least talking a little bit about Oklahoma beating itself. Because this was a big part of the game too, and you've alluded to it a couple times over. I am not saying this is the only reason why Alabama won.
Right.
Okay. I thought what Alabama did to come in to recapture the momentum and kind of turn the tide, a little pun, I thought that was outstanding.
Yeah.
And absolutely a good way to start off this playoff run. So kudos to them. Alabama did get some breaks in this one, just the way that Oklahoma did the first time around. You mentioned the punter. dropped the punt.
Mm-hmm.
Not even blocked, just dropped it. They fell on it.
Yeah.
They turned that into points. There was also the pick six, which you mentioned earlier, right out of my college football 26 dynasty. I throw that pass. I have seen that go back for 6. That was a bad decision by John Mateer. The other one that you didn't mention,
please,
was a play, I think about 4:30 left in the first half. Mateer evades a pass rush, makes a nice move to get away from a defender, rolls out to his left, throws kind of back across his body down the field. Xavier Robinson's wide open. Yeah. May not have been a perfect pass, but it was blown coverage. If he catches it, it's a walk-in touchdown, but he drops it. Yeah. Those 3 plays, in my mind, were the ones that flipped everything.
There were, you're right, and there were both ways. There was the Jeremy Bernard in the second half, wide open drop. Yep. There was the overthrow early on from John Mateer. Like, the passing game, and I sort of half attribute this to just the time off. Oklahoma's been off obviously longer than Alabama, but as well as it seemed Oklahoma was playing, man, watching John Mateer when he knew it was a pass, when it was an obvious passing situation, or he knew he had to go through progressions, it was very rare, if ever, where he dropped back and didn't spaz out a little bit. I'm trying to think of a better word for the discomfort that he seemed to feel in the pocket. And obviously, leader and playmaker, and rolls out and improvises and is a sensational runner, obviously, with the ball in his hand. But there is something about the calm nature of excellent quarterbacks that I don't think John Mateer possesses, at least not in the bigger games that Oklahoma has played. And I don't know if that's a design thing. I don't know if that's a teaching thing, but the number of plays where he dropped back and calmly and in a rhythm stepped into the pocket and threw the ball confidently down the field. If that happened twice, I think I may have missed it, right? That there was something a little bit too spastic for me to feel comfortable. And that's how you get to, score, however many points per drive that Oklahoma's ending up, in the 80s this season. And so for them to get this far with this lack of confident offense, I think is pretty impressive. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, the best of John Mateer is really exciting, but I would say on the whole, what I saw from him in this game is something that we have seen from time to time throughout the course of the year. And that is, there's also a lot of dude perfect in his passing game. Sure. Where he's changing arm angles and he's doing some sort of weird stuff. He threw a couple fadeaway passes in this game where he's not driving his momentum through. So mechanically there's some rough edges there. I'm not a quarterback coach nor a quarterback expert. I just play one on the podcast, but watched enough football to know what usually works and what usually doesn't. And definitely some moments watching Mateer. All that being said, it's not been a great Oklahoma offense this year.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't the worst showing that I have seen from the Oklahoma offense.
No,
very Mateer dependent.
Yeah,
but the best of him is really good. We saw some really good, incredible catch by Deion Burks on the sidelines. They didn't really get Isaiah Satania going. He did have a touchdown, but only 2 for 17 on 6 targets. So that was one guy we were watching because he's been such a big play threat for this Oklahoma offense. I didn't think the Oklahoma offense was bad, but the Alabama defense just did such a good job forcing third downs. I think I saw something like Oklahoma had 14 total drives and 18 third down attempts.
Right.
They went something like 7 of 8 on third down. So even that wasn't horrible, but the Alabama defense just did a really good job forcing them to get to that third down scenario. And as we'll talk about here in the next game, when we get to Miami, Texas A&M, just forcing those third downs puts your defense and your team in a position to win field position, to win time of possession, to get some points on the board. So that was a very key element to the way that Alabama attacked this offense, mostly in the second half of this game.
Well, but I also should mention, Alabama's pass rush has not been excellent this year. They kind of got that going in the second half of this.
They did. They did.
They really seemed to, rotating multiple guys off of edges, playing some pass rush games. They really started getting to Mateer and disrupting an Oklahoma offensive line that at best was probably up and down this season, obviously improved. But in terms of what this Oklahoma offense wants to do, dropping John Mateer back and going through progressions, in getting to 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s. Alabama had Oklahoma exactly where they wanted to be, and you could see that comfort and aggression from Alabama up front without having to send extra dudes, right? They were getting pressure with just the guys on the line, and it really seemed to rattle Oklahoma. And by the way, Tate Sandel's incredible. He's an incredible kicker. He won the Groza, did he not?
Yes.
Windy night, Friday night in Norman, obviously. Oklahoma had shots at the end of this game. I'm not putting it on him because this offense wasn't performing in the second half. I actually appreciated when they were going for those field goals. They miss a short field goal that goes sort of above, I think it was a 36-yarder or so, that goes above and slightly to the left of one of the uprights. And the whole stadium was in shock because he missed a field goal. Gets the ball back, still down 10. Oklahoma gets the ball back, goes for something from like 50 some odd yards.
Yeah, it comes up short.
And it comes up short. The wind sort of.
By the way, are we sure he missed that field goal?
I don't think there was anywhere near enough evidence, right? That like the refs are staring straight up the upright. I didn't see enough evidence to be like, oh, that was definitely fully inside, right? That's the rule.
Yeah.
The ball has to be fully inside. And I don't think there was enough evidence to really examine that.
Why can't they just make the uprights bigger?
How big, Ty? How big? I think there's physics involved. And when I tell you I got a B- in physics in high school, Ty,
all right,
your boy Dan got a B- in physics. But yes, continue.
Fair enough. Your final score here was 34-24 in favor of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It was not the prettiest showing by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think they showed a lot of toughness. This is a hostile setting. These Friday games, I mean, we saw it last year with Notre Dame and Indiana.
Yeah.
It's a very loud, very raucous environment to kick off the playoff, the first round of the playoff, and to go into another stadium and win a game like that in that Friday night primetime setting. I look, you got to give them credit. You absolutely have to give them credit. It was a great season for Oklahoma. Alabama moves on now to play in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day at 4 p.m. Eastern time. It changed the start time. Indiana is a 7-point favorite at time of recording. I have seen that juggle around a little bit. I saw it dip to 6.5. We'll have to monitor over the next 10 days, whatever it is, see if that line moves at all. We will be doing our playoff preview for the quarterfinals. That drops next Sunday. So we've got some time to like sit and digest and think about all this game, all this game action,
Yeah.
But also react to whatever point spread it ends up being when we record it at the end of the week. So, we'll have a time and place to talk about that game. It is certainly intriguing on about 1,000 different levels, but I think it's a really exciting matchup. I'm really excited to see what that one looks like. It's a big deal for both these teams.
And by the way, Kurt Signetti, former Bama coach, Kalen DeBoer, former Indiana coach.
I know. So I'm saying, man, a lot of connective tissue.
And just to put a bow on it, Ty, I regret nothing I said about Alabama and getting into this tournament, this invitational, this TV show. I retract nothing. I regret nothing. The ends don't justify the means. Alabama was better than Oklahoma in Tuscaloosa. They were better than Oklahoma here. They proved it, and they won. And it's good for Alabama, and it was a sensational showing, but the ends do not justify the means. It is a farce that they're in this TV show. How about that?
I'm not even going there anymore.
You should.
No, listen, I'm over it.
Don't be scared of internet weenies, Ty. Come on.
I'm not scared of internet weenies.
It sounds like you are.
I'm not. I'm a broken man. Okay. I'm broken, and I am taking this game in a vacuum. I thought Alabama came back impressively so. I don't know what that means for the future of the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Either in 2026 or just here in 2025. But a win's a win, and 34-24, you will take that on the road at night again. 83,550 was the official attendance.
Oh, man. And Oklahoma lost to a sponsor's exemption. Continue.
Settle. All right. Speaking of SEC teams, we got another one. This game was played earlier today as we record this on Saturday evening. Miami came to Texas A&M. What is your preferred nomenclature for this game because we can go slugfest, slobber knocker, rock fight, knife fight, bar fight, field goal fest,
Whoa.
punt fest, war of attrition. What are you into? Do you have something that came to mind as you were watching this game, as you were preparing for this show?
Wounded sumo, right? I don't know. That's pretty good, right? So there's a lot of heft to this game, right?
Yeah.
You have the wounds of just like an inability of Miami to get anything going offensively. The wounds maybe emotionally and mentally from Texas A&M and the mistakes that they committed on offense. But even still, there was enough heft and aggression in the trenches going both directions, really.
Oh yeah.
That I'm comfortable saying that Miami was the superior wounded sumo.
This was a demolition derby.
Sure.
It was 0-0 at half. Everybody online was posting the Frank Beamer. You know which one I mean?
Of course. Well, because I want to say who scored first in this one?
Miami scored first.
Miami scored first.
In the third quarter.
I think we had the Mario pose. I don't know if it was after a blocked field. There was some moment where he had the pose, I believe. Mario had the Beamer pose.
It was 0-0 at half. It was 3-3 until late in the game when Miami scored a go-ahead touchdown with a little under 4 minutes left in the game. The wind played a huge factor in this game. Kickers were 2 of 6 in total. Miami's Carter Davis missed 3 field goals. He kicked one. I believe it was his second miss. And you and I were chatting about this one on Slack. He kicked the ball. It looked like it was online, and then it got hit by the wind whipping off the plains. Just a wall of something that pushed it wide right. It was his second miss on the day. He also had a doink at some point or another. It was really rough for the kickers. I don't even blame them. It was really windy out there. And
high 20s is what I want to say. Who was doing this game? McDonough and McElroy,
yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were pointing to, like near 30-mile-an-hour winds, yeah.
And I thought McElroy, to his credit, just as I was thinking it, McDonough asks the question, hey, Greg, when you're playing quarterback in winds like this, what does it do to the deep ball? It was right after Carson Beck airmailed a ball to somebody, I forget who had a step on a Texas A&M defender. It was way over his head. He clearly didn't want to underthrow it, dealing with wind, and that's why it was just, way over the guy's head. And McElroy brought it up. He was like, look, it's really tough. It's different if you've got sustained winds in one direction, but that was not the case in Kyle Field. You had swirling winds that were all over the place. It kept changing direction. It kept intensifying as the game wore on. So this was a real challenge, and I think that's at least part of the reason why Carson Beck had 103 yards passing. They didn't even really resort to trying to stretch the field all that much through the air. Thankfully, they had Mark Fletcher, who had a terrific game on the ground for the Canes, and we could talk through that here.
Almost in spite of Shannon Dawson and the Miami offense brain trust. Like it feels very counter to like the ideal of Miami football under Mario Cristobal, which is just mashing teams and wearing them down and then maybe hitting in play action situations to a tight end, or in this case, Malachi Toney. They went away from Mark Fletcher, who I think was averaging, even before that long run that helped to ice things near the end and set up that score, he was averaging like 8 yards a carry, especially running between the tackles. And obviously they went to him in that moment. It was like 50, 60-yard run. But it was weird that Mark Fletcher went as long as he did without consistently getting the rock. I don't know.
I kind of feel like we nailed the preview for this one. And I
didn't fully, but continue.
Well, we had elements of this game right. I think we had the right idea. We both thought there'd be more points. There's no way anyone predicted 10-3.
Right.
I think you had 2017. I thought it would be quasi shootout, and I had it at 38-35, but we definitely figured on this one being a close physical game. And for my part, I called out big plays and who was going to get more of them, and Miami's offensive line. And both of those absolutely came into play. So if you look back at this game, A&M did have a 59-yard pass to Mario Craver and 4 other plays over 10 yards, but nothing over 20.
No.
Miami had the 56-yard run by Mark Fletcher in the fourth quarter, which set up the game-winning touchdown. For my money, that was kind of the turning point of the game, at least the latter half of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, 8 plays of more than 10 yards, 2 for more than 20. So Miami had a slight edge with respect to getting those big plays, those chunk plays that can turn field position on its head, give a team a certain amount of momentum. And on the Miami offensive line front, you can make a really strong case that Mark Fletcher was the difference in this one.
Sure.
He finished 17 for 172, averaged a shade over 10 per carry. He was the one who I thought gave the Canes the biggest lift on offense. Down the stretch, he was running hard. I mean, as I said, Carson Beck only threw for a shade over 100 yards. They were reliant to some extent on Mark Fletcher ripping off some of those big runs, putting them in position. And so this was not necessarily what we all had on the bingo card because despite the fact A&M's had a bit of a tendency to give up some big plays this year, both through the air and on the ground, Mark Fletcher, amid some of the other talent that this Canes roster has, it sometimes fades into the background, not for lack of performance, but just because there are a lot of other more exciting names to talk about when we do recaps like this. But Mark Fletcher did his part. His mom was going crazy in the stands, which was a cool.
Yeah, they were talking about how she was driving all over the country for his games. It was great.
What a detail from McDonough. Talk about a pros pro, talking about how she drove from Miami to the Cal game last year.
To the Bay Area, yeah, for the Wild game against the Bears, yeah.
How long of a drive is that?
If you go straight through and you have cold brew that's likely illegal in most states, you could probably do it in a couple days and 50 some odd hours. I don't know.
Crazy, man.
You're leaving early. Okay. Here was the story of the game to me. The story of the game to me was the matchup between Miami's defensive line against what seemed to be a confident Texas A&M offensive line. And then what they were able to do to Marcel Reed, what they were able to do to affect the comfort levels of this Texas A&M offense. I did not love how this game was called by Colin Klein, new Kansas State head coach Colin Klein, by the way. Right. Didn't like the game plan in this one. And even so, when Marcel Reed just sort of could play with just right? Going down the field late in this game to set up a potential tying touchdown, aided, of course, by some mental lapses from the Miami defense. They made plays. And until that point, though, Ruben Bain was everywhere. Akeem Mesidor was everywhere. I thought the linebackers were sensational. Obviously, was it Bryce Fitzgerald, who had an interception early, I think on an overthrow, and then had the game-sealing interception. Freshman, I believe.
Yeah, freshman. Yep.
So I just, on all three levels, this defense was an outstanding game plan for Miami. They suffocated and overwhelmed Texas A&M up front. A&M couldn't do anything on the ground. That to me was the difference, is play to play. Miami was just a wrecking ball up front and still had the opportunity to lose this game with Marcel Reed driving to tie this game. And it was a great couple plays, by the way, because there was a pass breakup in the end zone before.
Was the pass breakup targeting?
It was a hard hit. It was a hard hit with a very specific part of the crown. I don't know.
I was curious that nobody mentioned that.
Yeah.
Or why nobody mentioned that. And it kind of looked like targeting to me. It's not even to say that even if they call it, Texas A&M gets the points and they win the game or anything, or tie the game in this case. I thought that was kind of looked like targeting to me, and nobody talked. It just like everybody panned it. Nothing to see here. It's like, okay,
I'd have to watch move on again. Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to see more of it. I only watched it like 75 times on replay before we hit record.
Okay.
But you know, that to me was a bit curious, but
I would like to see more in the way of creatively utilizing Marcel Reed's athleticism in that spot, right? That's where he's so elusive. That's where he's so great improvising, where you have to respect his feet and his athleticism to such a crazy degree that I was disappointed with. Not that they were asking him to pass it in that spot, but it seemed like a very plain way to try and score given his talent.
Completely agree. Agree. So let me throw this out there just to put a bow on what you're talking about with Miami's defensive front. 7 sacks, of Marcel Reed. Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain combined for 4.5 of those 7. They are ridiculous. I am crazy curious to see what that matchup looks like against Ohio State.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fascinating when they play a little bit later on this year. Or I guess
Especially
next year.
with what Ohio State didn't look like up front on offense against Indiana.
That's right.
Basically their only true test after that Texas game in terms of playing a truly ferocious defense. All due respect to Penn State. They just were not that team this year. So, yes, that's going to be an incredible match. And that's indoors, so we won't have to be dealing with any sort of wind issues. They're playing that one at Jerry World, correct?
Thank God. Oh, the wind. So the other thing that I would mention just while we're talking about the defense in this matchup, both units were awesome on first and second down.
Mm-hmm.
Miami had a total of 12 drives. A&M forced 12 third down tries. They averaged one per drive. They were only 3 of 12. So they weren't a great third down team in this one at all. A&M had 11 drives and 18 third down tries. They won 8 of 18. So both defenses were keeping their opponent off schedule, forcing some of those third down situations. And again, just like I said with the previous matchup, you force those third downs, it gives your offense an opportunity to get better field position, to get a little bit of momentum, if nothing more, get the defense off the field.
Yeah.
So, this was, I thought, a game that went a much different direction than we thought, even though we got some of the key elements right.
Yeah.
And the way that Miami sort of found itself in the second half, it screams that Miami found itself in the second half when you look at some of the advanced stats. 2.8 yards per play in the first half, 8.7 yards per play in the second half. So they've definitely figured something out. They are moving on. Again, your final here was a 10-3 thriller in College Station, Texas. Miami now, as we mentioned, is going to square off against Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. It is on New Year's Eve, 7 p.m. Eastern time. The early line is Ohio State minus 9.5 points, Dan.
Wow. That's a number.
That's
my final two thoughts on this one, by the way, is ultimately I think I came away pretty like whatever the wind is, whatever the passing game is, whatever the arrhythmic nature of Carson Beck today was, Mario Cristobal made decisions in this one in short yardage situations, in go kick moments. You know, they had the short kick, I want to say it was like a 26-yard kick or whatever on 4th and goal, that sort of underscored his thought that this Texas A&M offense, for lack of a better term, wasn't shit, right? The decisions he made were like, if we pin them inside their 25, they're just not going to be able to drive the ball at all.
Yeah.
And so that was his calculus and his thinking in those decisions. It nearly came back to bite them on that final drive to tie it.
I messaged you, what's this defense right now? What are they doing? They're going to lose.
But I guess you can't argue with the final result, right?
No.
That Mario Cristobal made those decisions based on thinking and believing with his whole heart that Miami's defense could not be trounced. And for the most part, he was right. The other thing, to put a bow on this whole thing, is Notre Dame's not in this playoff because they lost to a team who scored 0 touchdowns in the playoff. Right? I wrote down, I did some like back of my envelope math.
Yeah.
Notre Dame
they lost to both these teams.
I know they lost to both of these teams, but the Texas A&M game was at home. It was after week 1. You had the opportunity to not give up 41 points.
No, listen, and
that was a final Marcel Reed throw to the end zone, and this was a final Marcel Reed throw to the end zone. I just saw some parallels here. And there's your bowl. They're not your bowl game. There's your opening round playoff win for Miami. Super impressive. ACC is on to the quarters.
We both called it too. We
both did have Miami on the road. Yes,
we did. We did well on these. That brings us to the other two games, Dan. Ole Miss 41, Tulane 10. We just went final in the Oregon JMU game, 51-34.
51-34.
51-34 was your final. Oregon takes out James Madison.
Yeah, I can't comment on exactly what happened in that fourth quarter because we started our stream, but I saw some Oregon. It wasn't all like starters out. There were some guys in, but it was some, third, fourth string guys in the secondary making mistakes. And that's on Dan Lanning. That's on Tosh Lupoy feeling like They wanted to get some more depth, the action in this one. So it seems that JMU kept fighting and kept moving the ball against Oregon. Maybe it was against some starters. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. But I do know that when Oregon's first string offense was in, Dante Moore had something like 17 yards per attempt deep into this game. And they were getting whatever they wanted on offense. And they were distancing themselves. I don't know if it was JMU actually just like fighting back against good Oregon players, or if it was Oregon, taking their foot off the gas a little bit too soon. But it did, for the stretch I watched, it did seem like Oregon was completely outclassing JMU, especially the offensive players seemed so much faster than the foot speed of what JMU had to offer on defense. And the Oregon defensive line seemed to be overwhelming JMU's front on offense. But I'll go back and watch this second half more closely.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, if you had JMU plus the 21.5.
Yeah, congratulations.
You hit your bet. On the Ole Miss side.
No, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
DeCorian Moore came back. Gary Bryant came back. Evan Stewart, I think, is reportedly closer to coming back, and it was listed as questionable, I want to say, in this one. So DeCorian Moore and Gary Bryant had missed about a month after that Iowa game. And Oregon seems more robust and versatile on offense when they're in there. They had some long plays. And so Oregon now gets Texas Tech with a healthier offensive roster. And guys have been stepping up, Malik Benson and Jeremiah McClellan, and certainly they've been rotating the running backs really well, and the line seems healthy after they were beat up. Texas Tech game should be super fun in Miami, correct?
In Miami, yep. It's Capital One Orange Bowl. Look, I'm going to have a conversation here in a second about G5 and its place in the current college football playoff structure.
Right.
We'll get to that in a second. What I'll say about JMU, a lot of pieces on this team that I actually really like. I thought Alonzo Barnett, for his part, definitely under assault from the Oregon defense, to put it mildly.
Yep.
But nice player, got a lot of wiggle, was able to make some guys miss, had a touchdown on the ground, threw for 273 and 2 scores, no interceptions. Okay.
Sure.
They didn't win. They got blown out, but I thought he acquitted himself well. Wayne Knight. Where's my sound?
Hello, Newman.
I had so many people text messaging me. I had 3 people send me separately messages asking me, wait, is that the Wayne Knight?
Yeah.
No, it's not the Wayne Knight.
What do you mean? People were asking you if the guy who's now in his 60s,
yes!
I want to say.
They're like, wait, is that the same? No, it's not the same Wayne Knight. What are we talking about here?
Who has your number? Let's text.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's not the same guy.
Okay.
Funny name, though. Wayne
Good
Knight.
name. And there's a Michael Scott on this roster, to be clear as well.
Yeah, he looked good. So we will get to that part of the show.
Yeah.
We will talk about whether JMU belongs here, whether they didn't belong here. Apparently, they kept fighting. 51-34 was the final. When we came on the air, I think it was just 40-something to 26, right? So they have been fighting their way through here. They made it to this game. They were on the road. Bob Chesney now is going to be off to UCLA, and Oregon is going to square off against Texas Tech in the Capital One Orange Bowl. You care to venture a guess on what that projected point spread looks like?
In the Orange Bowl?
Yeah.
Texas Tech?
Who should be favored in that game?
Based on Oregon playing this week and Texas Tech with a longer break, I think I have slightly more confidence in Oregon if both of these teams are playing somewhere near their best football. So I'd say between 1 and 3 points. Or
the number
that toss up. Yeah.
Yeah, the number that I saw at the start of the week when they started running some projected point spreads was 1.5.
Okay.
And it looks as if it is opened at that 1.5 number. That's going to jump around. I think of the point spreads that we've been kicking around here, that's probably the one I'm most interested in following over the course of the next, 7 to 10 days, whatever it is till they play this one. Again, it's on New Year's Day. It's the first game on New Year's Day. It's going to be a nooner down there at the Orange Bowl between Oregon and Texas Tech. These teams have played 3 times in their history, twice in the 90s, once 2 years ago in a really fun game that featured Bo Nix against Tyler Shuck, FYI.
That's right.
did a
That
little
was a
digging.
last-second win for Oregon.
38-30, I believe was the final. It was a pick six. And put the icing on the cake there. So Oregon moving on. Again, they were a healthy favorite. They definitely lived up to that. They did not cover the point spread. I don't know if it matters much.
I think they're up 35 in the third quarter.
Yes.
It was like 48-13. Yeah.
On the other and final front, in the first round of the college football playoff, Ole Miss won by 31 over Tulane. 41-10 was your final. Ole Miss needed just 3 plays and 59 seconds to score their first touchdown of the game. Then Jake Retzloff, Tulane got the ball back. They went on a really nice drive, long drive, drained like 5 minutes off the clock. I'm thinking, all right, hey, here we go. Yeah, a little bit of a game here.
Yep.
A little bit of a game. Interception. I said it out loud, Dan. It's over.
Yep.
Ole Miss gets the ball back. They score on 4 plays. Ole Miss needed 7 plays to go up 14-0. All in all, they had 12 drives. They scored on 7 of them. You can actually say they scored on 8 of 11 because they took a knee on that last drive, or could have scored an 8th time if they didn't take a knee on that last drive. So There wasn't a whole lot of resistance on the Tulane front. This was a runaway train. Ole Miss was a big play machine. They had 11 passes of 15 or more yards. They had 4 runs of 15 or more yards. They got good push up front. Trinidad Chambliss had all day. Defensively, they got pressure without blitzing. All the stuff. Everything that you might have expected about a matchup like this. We saw all of it. The other thing that you might have expected, or at least watched for, was, is this going to look like a different Ole Miss team because Lane Kiffin isn't there? We didn't see that at all. It looked like the same Ole Miss team we've been watching all season long.
Yeah, and Charlie Weiss Jr. had been calling the offense. Obviously, Lane Kiffin making those big decisions and game planning throughout the week and having a role in what that offense looked like. But it looked like it didn't really miss a beat. Not an overwhelming performance from Kejuan Lacey, who I want to say was a little bit beat up. Trinidad Chambliss left for a minute in this one. That obviously seemed to be a little bit scary, but he came back and didn't seem to miss a beat, spread the ball around really nicely. And the big thing to me was the Ole Miss defense, which at times this year has been a little leaky. And they take on who? Georgia again, right?
That's right.
In their next round.
Yep.
And so we'll see if this type of defensive performance goes on. Tulane, the numbers are sort of not indicative at all. Tulane couldn't really do anything in this one. I think they put up something like 120 some odd yards after they were down by 38. And so it made sort of their totals look better than they actually were. But Tulane could not figure this out. They could not stay on the field. And there was just a ton of grass in Vaught Hemingway for this Ole Miss offense. So a thorough beatdown, and good for Ole Miss in this position without their head coach for the majority of the season. And so you could see the sort of relief and excitement in Pete Golding's face in this one as the game wore on. And look, they look like Ole Miss. And
they looked like Ole Miss.
We weren't sure if they would or to what extent. They look like Ole Miss.
But they looked like Ole Miss. And you know, on the Tulane front, at times they were able to get a little bit going on the ground, so that was a bright spot. Jake Retzloff, I thought, for the most part, looked okay. He didn't have a whole lot of help. He was under assault the entire game. And, you know, had some nice moments in this one, but it just wasn't enough. And as was very much the case on the Oregon JMU side, we saw that with Oregon or Ole Miss Tulane as well. There's just such a huge talent disparity. There's a huge talent disparity. And try as they might, Tulane just did not have what it took to run with Ole Miss. Even though they had a few drives where it seems like maybe they were getting something together, they did not have enough playmakers to realistically match up with this Ole Miss squad. So,
which is why we use the term winter wonders, which is why we use the term that, like, you are needing to count on specific playmakers. If it's a tight game, if it's a game where you just need to take it seriously enough and you have players on your roster, whether it's, you know, Oregon, Ole Miss, or any of these teams that you get to see them against overmatched teams, you're like, it's just a speed thing. It's just it's not a desire thing. It's not a fundamentals thing. It is just, this is a much better football player thing that Ole Miss had that Tulane didn't. And sometimes these schools have those dudes. Yeah. And it just didn't happen to occur this afternoon and tonight in these games.
You mentioned this, but Ole Miss is going to square off now against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. This is the game on New Year's Day, 8 p.m. start time, as you're used to with the Sugar Bowl. It is a rematch of a game that we saw in Athens. Georgia won that one 43-35 back on October the 18th. I suffice to say, probably a bit of a coaching advantage in the favor of Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, but Ole Miss is a dangerous team. If they play like this, for whatever you make of this game, if they play like this, they're dangerous. And we saw that the first time around. It was a very tight affair. Curious to see what it looks like now. Again, All-State Sugar Bowl, your traditional start time at 8 p.m. on
That
October
game,
18th.
that game, by the way, was an overwhelming Gunnar Stockton performance.
Yes.
It was like shaky a little bit at times to start the season, and what he was able to do against Ole Miss in that one obviously sort of foreshadowed what the back half of his season looked like. I guess the only thing Ole Miss may have going for it, I mean, look, it has a lot going for it. Ole Miss has what nobody knew would be an excellent quarterback coming in relief of Austin Simmons and Trinidad Chambliss, and Kejuan Lacey stepped up all season long. The defense seemed to improve. There's a lot going for Ole Miss, more broadly speaking. But because you mentioned the coaching advantage, there is a mysterious quality, right, that Ole Miss has in Pete Golding. Kirby Smart doesn't have experience coaching against Pete Golding, completely inexperienced coach, right? So in terms of tendency, in terms of game planning, obviously the coordinators are the same, but what the rhythm is like, what might be different in a huge game like an Ole Miss Georgia rematch, there might be some mystery. That's me reaching, to be clear. But it is a different experience for Kirby Smart that he might not be able to lean on. Like, this is what Lane Kiffin is going to lean on.
We are content creators, and sometimes we need to create the content. So we'll see. We will get to that again. We're going to do our quarterfinal preview.
Did you see Lane Kiffin
Sunday
tweeting, zeeting on X Cole and the Everything app during this game?
No.
He basically said he was tweeting like, hey man, why can't we just root for both of these teams? Just not the week that they play each other. Like, let's all be friends. And I was like, okay, man. You chose to leave. All right, that's all.
Can I ask a favor of you?
You can. I don't know if I'm going to fulfill it, but you can ask.
I desperately want a dramatic drive reading.
Oh man.
For the Miami Texas A&M game.
Oh, you want it after the fact?
I want it after the fact. I feel the people demand it. I feel the people deserve it. This game, I think, above all the others that we saw on this weekend, and especially the last couple weekends of the season, is a game that warrants that type of treatment. So
Miami had the potentially worst first half of offense in college football playoff history. I saw that somewhere.
Yeah.
60 some odd yards. Okay, so the drive chart for Miami, Texas A&M, 10-3 final. Punt, punt, fumble, punt, 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 kickoff, punt, miss field goal, downs, miss field goal, interception, miss field goal, punt, field goal, fumble, punt, touchdown, interception, and
you timed that perfectly. You got right to like the crescendo and you say end of game.
Well, it's
how you do it.
Kickoff on this drive chart, and that doesn't make any sense.
No.
So I'm not sure what was going on there, but okay.
My final thought here relates to a debate that I believe is going to rage long, deep, painfully into the offseason. And that is about G5 teams in the playoff.
Okay.
So look, you know where I stand on this. I've been pretty vocal about it. I think it's a matter of principle. If you are going to say that all of these teams are in the same subdivision,
right,
everyone should have a pathway to get into the playoff. I think that's a matter of principle. I think that's very straightforward. I'm not saying auto bids. I'm just saying a pathway in. Okay? I may have changed my tune a little bit, but I believe that there needs to be a realistic pathway so that everybody can be represented. Otherwise, you need to split them off, come up with some other situation.
Sure. You can't call them FBS, right?
Can't call them FBS.
FBS playoff, right.
Come up with something between FBS and FCS, and that's where G5 lives, okay? You got to get them to agree to it. You got to make sure that the money's right. But That would be sort of the off-ramp here. And I know people have been screaming at us for the last week, like, I sent you a plan. Here's my plan here. I will read through all your plans. Okay.
Right.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that there is differing opinions on this matter.
Yeah, people feel passionately.
I appreciate that. So thank you for emailing in solidverbal@gmail.com. If you have a plan that you'd like to send in, solidverbal@gmail.com.
Yeah. If you want to text Ty directly, 610, continue, Ty.
I believe out of principle, there should be a pathway in.
Okay.
I don't care if it makes for lousy television. I don't care if it makes for lopsided point spreads.
Yeah.
I don't even care if it's at the expense of the team that I root for.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to say that everybody belongs in this subdivision, then everybody in the subdivision should have a chance to play in the playoff for the big trophy.
Yeah.
That seems logical to me.
Mm-hmm.
That said, what happened this weekend was a very, very bad turn of events for that perspective. Okay.
Well, I mean, Jamie, you lost by 17.
They lost by 17. They put up 34 in Oregon.
Yeah.
Game was kind of over before it got started, but okay.
Yeah.
It was just a very bad day for that point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where the conversation goes next. My hunch is that it's never going to end this offseason. We're going to hear a lot about this.
Sure.
Whatever they decide to do with the new playoff system, whether it's go to 16 or 14 or God help us 24, whatever it ends up being,
mm-hmm.
all I'm asking for is a realistic path for teams like Tulane and like James Madison to still find their way in. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. These were two terrible results. If you watch the game, I mean, I don't care what the final score was with the Oregon JMU game. That game was over. The game was over in the first half.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should look at these results and base all of our future movement based solely on what happened today. I don't think that's fair, but I will acknowledge this is not a good look. And it very much was a situation where he had two games that were just uncompetitive. They just weren't. They weren't competitive. And
yeah.
I don't know if it means you expand to 16 and then whichever G5 teams get in, they play the top seeds in the tournament. That type of deal. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is, but I am not all that excited to hear where the discourse goes next, because I think it's just going to be very loud. There are going to be a lot of proud Power Conference fans out there who are saying that these teams don't belong and shouldn't play. They're playing a different sport. I've heard that
right
from about 1,000 different people. And even though it wasn't competitive, I don't fully agree with that. I hope whatever they do next, they're not going to cut them out.
By the way,
entirely,
including,
I think that'd be lousy.
Including Joe Tessitore. He's
including Joe
Tess. Yeah. He was like, okay, guys, we should talk about this. Let's be real. Like, why are you talking about this? I hear you. I'm with you. You know how I feel about this. I just think this is a uniquely college football problem, that the way it's laid out or not laid out or governed or not governed just creates this oxygen for like bile to get through in the discussion of all of this, that I think people feel, and it's not just SEC people, it's not just Big Ten people, it's not just Power Conference people, but people feel this need to puff out their chest and like put down like the smaller guy, because they're like, you don't belong. We are different. We are in rare air, and it's embarrassing for us to play against and be associated with you. It doesn't happen in the NFL when like the New York Giants lose by 45 in a playoff game.
How dare you talk about my Giants?
The only reason I say that is because I looked up the biggest NFL playoff blowouts of all time. And like, there's a lot of Giants in here.
Yeah, there really is.
Jeff Hostetler really struggled.
You should watch them all year like I did. Been a great year. Anyway.
But what I'm saying is like, we didn't have that in 1993 about like the NFC East is an embarrassment, right? Because they're all under the umbrella of FBS. They're all under the umbrella of the NFL, right? We have blowouts in sports. I want to say that there was probably a year where I think the Utah Jazz beat the Bulls by like 58 points in an NBA Finals game. Nobody freaked out. People understand blowouts happen. And so I feel as if there's so much pride about conference and affiliation because we have been made to feel like the Big Ten is so crazy impressive now that it's added, the West Coast schools and it's this huge thing. And the SEC is so impressive. And literally commercials say it means more. It means so much more. When you add Texas and Oklahoma, you have these mega conferences with these huge schools who've done so many impressive, legitimately crazy impressive things.
Yeah.
That you do start getting that, what we talked about, like the country club experience, where you're like, you don't belong with us. You're not, it's just, you should start your own club. That would be a really good move for you guys.
Yeah, I love
Start
that
your
for
own
you.
tournament. You could put it on True TV. You could sell it to Tubi, right? Is that a thing? I think Tubi's a thing.
Not
like
a sponsor.
Tubi. Is
Not
it
a
a thing?
It TUBI.
Is it TUBI? Excuse
It's
me.
an I. Yeah.
Right? There's this like dismissive nature. Like, why don't you guys, like, there's a public park that will host you in your tournament of small teams. And I don't know. I find the whole thing to be so disingenuous and dumb. Like, yes, there are blowouts. Yes, there are better teams and worse teams. And we can all make peace with the fact that like a Wimbledon final might be 6-0, 6-1. And that's okay. The person who loses that tournament should be allowed to play in the US Open. And it's just, I don't know. It's this weird thing. Like, you can look like, should Minnesota be able to stay in the Big Ten? You want to look at some of their scores from this year? But there's just like this automatic reflex to be like, you are not of our kind. And I don't know. It's very strange. And this year had two smaller conference teams in it because Miami couldn't beat SMU or Louisville and get to the ACC championship game and just become an automatic qualifier for this conference, because Duke beat Clemson and scored 46 beating Clemson. There's all sorts of reasons. Notre Dame's not in this tournament. Like, there's all sorts of reasons why we had this like very rare situation in which we have these two teams in. And people can't just say like, oh, what a weird year. This likely will never happen again. They have their digital pitchforks out. Like, this is embarrassing for the sport.
Well, and the truth is it won't happen again. They won't let it happen again.
All they do is change it to advantage the already most advantaged, and they'll do it again.
It won't happen again. I mean, the pressure point that I think we will hear the most about soonest is the ACC tiebreaker. The ACC tiebreaker, which this year
it's probably already changed.
Used conference opponent winning percentage instead of CFP rankings to put a team like Duke ahead of Miami. They will change that so that moving forward, a school like Miami or whoever, Florida State, maybe Virginia Tech, somebody gets in via that tiebreaker as opposed to what they had this year. Doing so would have had Miami, Notre Dame, and Alabama in all likelihood in the college football playoff. I think that's the first thing you see. But looming large now, kind of in the backdrop, is this push to amend the model, come up with a different way. We've heard talks about this now for the last year or so.
Yeah.
And we've heard Pete Bavacqua, whatever you think of Pete Bavacqua's comments on the Notre Dame front. We've heard
him talk. A great guy.
We've heard him talk about going up to 16. We've heard others talk about going up to 6. Tony Petitti wants to go up to like 48. I don't know.
Buddy, we've already changed the framework of this to get Notre Dame automatically.
I know, which I also hate. I also hate that. I don't like that at all.
Right.
But my only point with all this is I understand that this is a very bad look for the G5. I understand it. It's not all that unexpected. I get where people are coming from. I understand the argument. I just don't agree with it. And I hope that whichever direction this goes next, they do not cut the G5 out entirely.
Right.
If you want to modify the pathway, so be it. Just make sure there is a realistic pathway and not just a dog and pony show. If we're going to all be under FBS, make sure we're all under FBS and everybody has a chance to play in the same tournament for the same trophy. That's all. I'll leave it there.
You know I agree, Ty. You know I agree. Why don't you have a little tournament on dailymotion.com? Why don't you take your little Mountain West Sunbelt altercation to Dailymotion? Does that still exist?
I don't know.
I don't think Dailymotion is killable. I think it's going to be here. It's going to outlive us all. Come on, Ty. Yeah, it's very strange, but it's not unexpected.
Why don't we leave it there? Don't forget, if you made it this far, hit follow, hit subscribe so that you do not miss any of our episodes. This, of course, is a holiday week. Dan, you're going to be away.
But we'll preview.
We are going to be doing
packs.
Yeah. We're going to be dropping 2 episodes. So there's an episode that's going to come out Tuesday, which I will do solo without you. And I'm going to bring on a guest. We're going to talk whatever's topical.
Is it Pete Bavacqua? You can tell me.
It is not Pete Bavacqua. He did not respond to my emails, unfortunately. That'll be Tuesday. And then we're going to take off on Thursday. We will have our quarterfinal preview waiting for you early on Sunday morning. Again, we get to this weekend. Before you know it, we're going to start talking about New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and those games. So we got to get that preview out.
Yeah.
On Sunday, we'll continue with the 3 per week cadence as much as we can, given holidays and given weird college football schedules. Just make sure you're staying tuned to all of our episodes here. We'll keep you up to speed as best we can. We'll also post that out on social media for anybody who is unable to listen. The final thing I have here, the parting shot, is playballbingo.com. Playballbingo.com is our off-season game. We've got one that is running right now. It locked on Friday evening.
Nice.
It runs for the remainder of the week. We've got another game that's going to drop very early in the week, Monday or Tuesday. That game will lock on Friday.
Nice.
Make sure you get your picks in. Again, it is a list of 30 prop bets. You pick from a list 6 that you think will take place. If you hit all 6, if you win the tiebreaker, because you're probably going to need a tiebreaker, you got a lot of people playing this, you will win a fabulous prize.
Indeed.
We're doing that once a week for the next couple weeks. Call it Bowl Bingo. It's a fun game. Check it out.
I truly hope you do. It's the best.
That is all we have time for tonight, Dan. We appreciate everybody who hopped on, who watched this live. We appreciate everybody out there in the Verballerhood that is listening on demand. Wherever it is you may be, we very greatly appreciate your support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. For that guy, Dan, for myself, Ty, you know the drill is always stay solid.